Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Duckpin TV's presentation of the 2016 Connecticut Professional Duckpin Bowling Association Tournament Series Finals. We are here at Lucky Strike Lanes in Mansfield Center, right, Connecticut, and we just finished our quarterfinal round, and there were four relatively not close matches, if you want to describe it that way. We had Ron Peflin taking out our number one seed, Mike Trepanier, by 23 pins. Kyle Shaw took out Mike Caplet Sr. by, I hate to say it, 65 pins. Alex Shaw, Kyle's younger brother, was able to dispose of Bill Sheehan by a mere 41 pins. And in our close match, if you want to call it that, Rick Dansereau, who was our 4 seed, took out Mark Rue by 21 pins. So, Jim, that round didn't feature anything which was exciting except for a couple of big games. And why don't you talk about what you saw in that round?
Right, not a lot of drama in those 4 quarterfinal matches. Ron Peflin came out with a 4-timer against Mike Trepanier to effectively wrap up that match after 5 frames. Kyle Shaw marked early and often on his way to a 184 scratch. And Mike Caplet Sr. had opened his first 4 frames. That match was essentially over right then and there. Bill Sheehan from Manchester, East Hartford, Connecticut, had a struggle as well against Alex Shaw. Alex had a pretty easy time of it. And then really the only match that had any type of suspense to it was Mark Rue and Rick Dansereau, where Mark Rue needed a double in the 10th and didn't have it. So here we are down to our final 4.
Yeah, and because we are down to our final 4, we're going to bring in the heavy hitters, if you will. We're going to welcome Eric Leteska into our booth now, who's going to help us call the semifinal round. Good afternoon, Eric.
Hey, Pat, Jim, thank you for the introduction. Things to look out for, I think, in this next match, guys. If the first 2 rounds of the brackets are any indication of what's about to happen, the match on 5 and 6 is sure to be an exciting one. We've got Kyle Shaw and Ron Peflin, who Kyle's been on fire all day. Shot 800 for his first 5 games of the day. He joined the bracket, earned himself a bye in the first round, and then just joined the action last game and threw a 184 scratch, which, by the way, isn't his highest game of the day. And then Ron Peflin, since the bracket has started, he's been the guy to watch. He's knocked over 10 pins a number of times, catching a 4-bagger in his second game, and then also a bunch of strikes in the first game. So keep an eye out for some fireworks on 5 and 6, but not to overshadow the match we've got on 1 and 2. A very game Rick Dansereau, who opens this matchup with a bomb.
Oh, he did leave. He left the 10 in the corner.
10 pin.
And the brother of the competitor we were just talking about, we're still potentially on track for a family final. That would be Alex Shaw, who's been solid so far as well.
And as you're watching in the far left there, Rick Dansereau, lefty, covers the 10 pin. So he, again, unlike the qualifying, the semifinal round, is seeing the top seeds choosing to bowl first, it seems. Except I correct myself, because Kyle Shaw did not throw the first ball. So Rick is the higher seed. He chose to bowl first. Kyle, being the higher seed, chose to bowl second.
And again, by bowling that first frame first, you get to bowl the 10th frame last.
That is correct.
You see on your, you will see on your screen scores. They're currently being brought up and by our scorekeeper, Steve Corrick, who's done a great job so far. And if just as a reminder, if you watched the last round, we mentioned the scores, the handicaps of the bowlers are being added into the first frame. So the score you will see in the first frame will reflect the bowler's first frame and their handicap.
So here's our first look at Kyle Shaw in the semifinal round, and he doesn't disappoint. That's a solid 9 drop. You see him coming at you here.
picks up where he left off, and sometimes that's hard to do after throwing a big game and having a couple minutes of a break between games to get right back in that zone. But so far, so good.
Yeah, I bowled with Kyle earlier for the five games in the qualifying round, guys. I don't think I saw Kyle miss his object pin more than 5 times, three or four times maybe in 5 games, which is really, really impressive. I think maybe missed one single, which happened to be the very first frame of the day, and then didn't miss a single again after that.
We just saw
Right, Kyle's coming up on a load here. A little light off the head there, but did get an 8 drop. He does get away with some of those balls.
Alex Shaw was unlucky on lane 1. He had left the 5, 9, 10, and made the 5, 10. Forgot to take the 9 with it, though, so he ended up with just a 9 box.
Kyle, just
heavy.
punches through there on the 2.
And now we have Rick Dancer on lane 2 working on a spare. Hits light, but mixes them together and only leaving the 2 pin.
Rick really attacks the line. When he gets to the line, he's angry.
Yeah, he gets there in a hurry.
Yeah, it gets there in a hurry and is really effective at transferring that momentum into the ball, and you see that in the form of velocity. He throws the ball about as hard as anybody else up here right now.
Goes by the 2 pin for the spare. Cleans it up for 10.
Bring Ronnie Pefflin here into your picture.
The other lefty in our semifinals.
Well, as you were talking about just a minute ago, Jim, Ron coming off a big game and 4-bagger. He's kept throwing strikes even after that, but to come back and start it over again, a little bit difficult.
Right. Well, in the first round match, he had a triple. And he had a 4-timer in his quarterfinal match, and Rick just threw a strike to.
Well, he missed a 1-pinner, right?
Nice fill. I'm sure he's thinking to himself right now.
Yeah.
We call that paying the price.
Paid his penalty. And then you see Ronnie Pefflin leaving a 5, 7, 8.
It's a little tricky maybe for Ron with the direction his ball comes from. Trying to shoot the outside of the 5-pin there and coming from the left side, that doesn't make people comfortable.
Right.
Typically.
Like I had said earlier in the broadcast, earlier in the match, I'm more inclined to just try and get as much of the wood as possible as opposed to trying to make a split and possibly leave pins on the lane.
So Alex is on the board over on lane 2. You can see him back on your screen. Kyle just machine-like.
He's on a mission. Really, the only bad ball he threw. He didn't throw a bad ball. He hit light in the second frame, left the 2-7, and pushed the 2-pin through. He put it where he wanted it, and comes right back with the strike.
You really can't consider that missing the object pin. He just didn't hit it quite where he wanted to.
He didn't miss the object pin.
The problem that you have when you're bowling against Kyle when he's on a strike is that it's more than likely he's going to throw another one.
Here's Ron's problem. Ron Pefflin was getting handicapped from Kyle, but with a good fill here on the strike, Kyle's will have already made up the handicap. So now, essentially, Ron is bowling Kyle scratch the rest of the game. And
that's not a good scenario when you're bowling against a scratch 150 bowler.
Right.
And that was back-to-back balls exactly where Kyle Shaw wants to throw him. High flush in that 1-3 pocket.
Yeah, that was 10 in the air before they went in the pit on that ball.
Ron unable to answer immediately. He went off the side for 2.
We did see Ron in the match against Mike Caplet Jr. down almost 30 early, and he didn't let it phase him in that match. But
Rick gets the kind roll of the deadwood into the 7-pin, so he doubles in the 3rd and 4th.
So our 2 top seeds right now are both working on doubles. Our our 2 seed and our 4 seed coming into the 12-man qualifying round here.
Ron Pefflin really having a tough start to this game.
Yep.
Not what we've seen so far out of him.
And this is about the point where he started throwing strikes each of the last 2 games, and luckily breaks up the 5-7 to leave the 7, but it's not a strike. Not that he needs strikes right now, but
He will soon.
possibly.
Rick Dancero coming over here on lane 1. Oh man, he just ripped the middle for a triple.
Lanes 1 and 2 have a
There's a reputation here.
of being a high-scoring pair, and well, we saw Ron throw 4 in a row last game on that pair, and Rick's got 3+.
And meanwhile, Ron over on lane 5 just barely went by the 7-pin. Frustration kind of continues for Ron. He's got 45 in the 5th scratch with handicap 72.
Yeah, it's the first time in this. It's the first time in the last 2 rounds that Alex Shaw has found himself in a significant deficit. He's been bowling fairly comfortably, and now he's going to have to do some work.
Oh wow!
Kyle Shaw gets the lucky strike house roll.
House roll. Breaks up the 9-10 to just leave the 10. And his brother misses a spare. He's missed spares the last 2 frames.
Ooh, man,
Wow.
another rare. That's a rarity. Just twice in 2 games I've seen Kyle go by a 1-pin.
Kept the ball in the lane. It missed the 10-pin to the right. I think it stayed on the lane the whole way down, though. Just a fraction of a inch miss there.
As good as Kyle is, I'm sure he's mad at, not himself, he's probably mad that the pin didn't jump over and get in the way of his ball.
Now he leaves a split, so a little bit of a sliver of an opening for Ron, but he'll need to get started. He's opened his first 5 frames.
And over on 1 and 2, Alex is starting to show some signs of maybe some nerves. He's a very young bowler.
Again, just 18 years old.
Maybe it's not his first competition, not his first tournament, but this is a big deal. This is a series finals, and he's up. He's in a semifinal match. It's a big deal.
Well, just like Ron got to look at a little bit of daylight from Kyle in that frame. I think Alex is going to be hoping for a chance to get back in this match here. He's depending on here to maybe get a little unlucky.
This is Dancero on a triple. It's about as unlucky as you can get.
Well,
Take the 8 load.
I'll take the 8.
At this
Right.
point in the match, the 8 load is monstrous because it counts twice. And there's Beflin. All right, so Beflin's in a position where now's the time to start going, right now. Down 22.
These matches go by so quickly that it can get away from you in a hurry. And that is where both of the matches stand at this very moment. Ron trying to make up just a little bit of ground that he's lost so far.
Rick had missed the 5-10 for a spare, but
unfortunate
for a 10 box.
Unfortunate break for Ron. He caught the middle, but can't clear out the 10 or the 7. Either one of those pins goes. He's got a makeable shot. Here's Ricky. Yep.
Wow.
That's a wow. Just say wow.
He has 125 plus in the 7th scratch.
Yeah, Rick's on fire. Really, right now he's on fire. He's throwing every ball just about right where he wants it.
I've done a lot of bowling with Rick over my career. He's a momentum bowler. The moment he gets into a rhythm and things start going well for him, look out, because he can string them together.
And Kyle, with something other than a spare leave here, hits light for 6, so keeping Ron in the match.
I was mentioning that last game, Eric, having bowled next to Rick all morning. He was extremely streaky. I mean, he would get fired up, and then there'd be this little lull, this little relaxation, and then boom, right back. So.
Meanwhile, Kyle pushes through that 4-pin and covers it for a spare.
So that puts Ronnie down 15 plus a ball.
And Alex had missed a single pin spare there, so he's missed spare leaves 3 out of the last 4 frames. Another spare leave for 6 for Alex.
And again, another kick for Kyle. Looked like the 5-10, but the 5 kicked late, leaving him a single. Eric, what do you think the chances of Kyle missing the 10 pin twice in the same game are, just statistically speaking?
I think that's a good question. The likelihood is pretty low. Approximately.
We talked him into it.
It's like talking about a no-hitter.
I know.
I guess the probability wasn't 0.
It wasn't 0.
But it was pretty low.
Well, he'll be upset with himself for missing that pin twice. I know
Keeping
that.
the door open for Ron. Down 26, but Ron has 3 frames left. This basically has to mark out and hope that Kyle opens.
So, Jim, take a look at the scratch scores right now for our 2 leaders, Rick Dancero and Kyle Shaw. What are we looking at in terms of a potential finals matchup?
Well, they're the 2 highest average bowlers remaining of the Final 4. Rick just unfortunately ripped the middle on his strike. But they both have a lot of experience bowling in tournaments, so I would expect it to be a good match. Hard fought, more leaning towards on the high scoring end of it.
If they were bowling each other right now, what would we be looking at?
I think Rick would have an advantage. Kyle would be getting a few pins from him, but not out. But maybe a single pin differential, if that's
Right now, with their handicaps as it sits right now, I mean, it looks like Rick would have about a 23-pin lead, and then it would bring into play those 2 singles that Kyle just missed. So, I mean, we're looking forward to the finals. Kyle's going to have to really focus on his spares if Rick's going to continue to throw strikes. We know Kyle can double him up too, but Kyle seems to be getting a lot of 9 drops.
Well, makes back-to-back rips for Rick, though, so I don't know if he's lost the pocket.
Well, Jim, what do you think? I mean, this isn't a cumulative tournament at this point. So, if you think if maybe Rick sees that he's got this game sort of in hand, it might maybe a little relaxation. Is it possible?
I think he's still, he's going to want to have a good 10 frame, even though he knows he's won the match, just to keep his mechanics solid and keep his mind positive for the finals.
And Kyle Shaw is in the same position. This game is pretty much over at this point.
Right, Ron had spared in the 8th and really needed to mark out, but
Ron can only go 125, and I don't think that's going to get him.
So we are looking at a Rick Dancero, Kyle Shaw final.
So the second highest qualifier from the morning and the 4th highest qualifier from the morning makes sense. I would have expected the top 4 to have an advantage, not having to bowl that opening round. So it's very it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's deserved that the top 4 bowlers get that bye.
And also, I think it's a matter of head-to-head experience. Both Rick and Kyle are on the Pro Tour. And with the tournament series format in Connecticut, you don't have a lot of head-to-head bowling. This is really the only tournament where you're bowling head-to-head. So that's a big edge, I think, that they would have on their opponents.
It's a totally different game than when you're bowling somebody head-to-head.
And there is a factor, perhaps, of intimidation that each of them possesses, being out on tour, having higher averages, that perhaps it was a factor in the match. I wouldn't necessarily say Kyle won this before the match started, but anybody going head-to-head with Kyle.
Well, it's the first thought in your head is, how am I going to beat this guy?
I need to have a big game.
Yeah, I have to score this much. And, you know, and in most cases when you're bowling Kyle, it's true. He never shows an ounce of emotion, good or bad. You never see him get too high, too low. He just continues to go out, next box, same ball. Mm-hmm. Next box,
and just
same
rarely throws a bad game. You know, a game that you would expect,
right,
that you would call a gimme. He's going to keep you honest.
I think it's because you rarely see him throw a bad box. You know, he covers everything.
Kyle finished with a 146 scratch that game, 155 with handicap.
So you got Alex just closing it up, trying to get to 100 and finishing on a positive note by throwing a strike in his final box. You see Ronnie Peflin here trying to finish up his day with a spare. And he does.
Both these guys made a really great run. And unfortunately, we're not going to get to see the brothers match up in the finals. But we're set up to have an exciting one nonetheless.
I'm kind of glad about that. I don't know if I can handle seeing one of those guys beat up on the other. We got mom and dad here. It'd get ugly.
I'm sure this was a treat for mom and dad as it is.
Oh, it is, yes.
Well, definitely give the home field advantage to Kyle in the finals. Not only is this his home house, but like you said, he has family and friends watching him. And Rick covers a 6-pinner for a spare in the 10th.
Yeah, Rick also surrounded by friends and family. Wife Katia, daughter Alexis.
Of course, his brother Jack is floating around here doing all kinds of work for him.
Yeah, sister-in-law and new nephew.
So Dancero
In the
closes
audience as
out
well.
with an 8 load, and that is a scratch. 165, I believe. So big games right there,
Right.
back to back for, well, side by side for Kyle and Rick. They're going to head each other in the finals and see what
And
happens.
they're both coming in with momentum, so we're going to wrap it up, take a break, and be back with the finals.
Must be a strike.
John Gorman, do or die here.
It's not.
Hold all tickets, folks. Well, you won't see a stranger one than that. And let's take a look.
Anybody going down the ramps will turn around and come back now, won't they, Mike? That's a live ball.
Each day, Duckpin TV reaches back into its archives to bring to you a piece of Duckpin bowling memorabilia. Visit facebook.com/DuckpinTV to check these out. If you have anything to share with us, email us at duckpintv@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. This is the Duckpin TV presentation of the 2016 Connecticut Professional Duckpin Bowlers Association Connecticut Series Finals. And we have completed the semifinals round, and we have our final matchup set to take place between Kyle Shaw and Rick Dancero. And right now we're going to throw it over to Jim Kaufman, who has one of our contestants for the final match ready for an interview.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I'm here with our finalist, Kyle Shaw from Lebanon, Connecticut. I'm going to ask you how you're feeling today, but I think I already know the answer.
Yeah, I've been throwing a good ball down there falling, I guess. I haven't missed many breaks at the head pin a lot, so that's helping for sure.
And we were noticing that you were on the object pen just about every single ball you've thrown, even in the 5 games qualifying today. Eric Leteska noticed that. So going into the finals against Rick Dancero, you're in your home house, got friends and family watching. Any other thoughts on your mind as far as anything you need to do different, or just what are you planning for this final match?
Just trying to throw the same ball I've been throwing. It's working so far. The only other thing on my mind is Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there.
Wow, bonus points for Mom. So good luck to you, Kyle, and we'll head up.
Thank you, Jim. And just give you a quick recap of how this finals match came about. Kyle Shaw was able to defeat Ronnie Peflin in the one semifinal match. Ronnie was coming off 2 big games, but couldn't put it together quite all the way to defeat Kyle. And in the other match, which we watched, we saw Ricky
Against his brother Alex.
take down
Against
Kyle's brother Alex in relatively easy fashion. So 2 matches that, again, we haven't had a real barn burner, nail biter, in the semifinals or the quarterfinals. But hopefully we can get these 2 hot guys together for a good final. We're going to throw it one more time back over to Jim Kaufman, who at this time has the other competitor in our final match, Rick Dancero.
Thanks again. I'm here with our other finalist, Rick Dancero from Newington, Connecticut. You struggled a little bit at times during the 5 games of qualifying, but you seem to have hit your stride, especially in the brackets.
Yeah, I struggled still at 732. I'm pleased with where I'm at, how I'm throwing a ball. Let's, one more good game here. Let's hope that we can have a good one, but I'm pleased.
And in your semifinal match against Ron Peflin, you had a strike in the first, missed a single, I believe, in the second. You ended up throwing a triple to take control of the match, but any thoughts going up into that third frame?
In these kind of events where you're bowling with a handicap, you want to jump out early, and that was really my goal. I was, a little annoyed at myself for missing the single, but my goal was really get out early and get some of these guys who were giving pins to bowl from behind, and I managed to do that both that game and the game earlier. So that's kind of the plan.
Well, tides are turned now. Instead of giving pins, you're getting pins from Kyle Shaw. What are your thoughts heading into the finals here?
I don't know the last time I got pins, so that's kind of an interesting thing. It's Kyle's house, it's Kyle's home. I'm the away team. Let's hope I can battle and do something good.
All right, well, best of luck to you. All right.
Thank you again, Jim. So at this time, we're going to let our bowlers get reset here. We're going to move along, and we're going to go to a commercial break and come right back at you with the finals of the 2016 Connecticut Series Finals.
Must be a strike.
John Gorman, do or die here.
It's not. Hold all tickets, folks.
Well, you won't see a stranger one than that. And let's take a look.
Anybody going down the ramps will turn around and come back now, won't they, Mike? That's a live ball.
Each day, Duckpin TV reaches back into its archives to bring to you a piece of Duckpin bowling memorabilia. Visit facebook.com/DuckpinTV to check these out. If you have anything to share with us, email us at duckpintv@gmail.com.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be the final match. We're going to have Rick Dancero starting this match off on lane 3. He's going to be bowling against Kyle Shaw for the Connecticut Finals Championship. Jim,
Yes.
what do you see coming up here in this match?
I think it's going to be a slugfest, to be honest with you. They've bowled well these last few games. Like I mentioned before, they both have experience in these types of head-to-head formats, so I'm expecting high scores.
I don't think Rick's in the interview with you, Jim, before the match here. Rick expressed a strategy bowling somebody without handicap of getting out of the gate. I don't think his strategy is any different against a bowler like Kyle Shaw.
Well, now it's a matter of making up the handicap.
Right.
And he does miss a single early, as he did in his last match.
That worked out well for him, though.
It didn't hurt him in the end.
Right. He did follow it up with the triple the last time he missed a single. So
I did actually speak kind of off camera with both Kyle and Rick, and they were joking because the last time they faced each other was not that long ago at the Cheshire Pro Series stop, and the results were quite shocking, actually. Rick beat Kyle head-to-head 212 to 140, so Rick's hoping that Kyle has a short memory.
And you kind of wonder if that's in the back of someone's mind. I owe you one. You beat me a pretty bad on the tour. So
Yeah, Rick said if Kyle starts off with like a 5-bagger or something, he'd pretty much figure out that he remembered.
wow.
That is the third time. And I didn't say anything that time, I promise. I wasn't even thinking it.
And they both
No commentator's curse there. No, I couldn't have possibly predicted this match starting with both of these bowlers missing a single.
right.
Especially Kyle on the 10-pin again.
But I would have to say, in their defense, if there is a defense, that it's I would guess those are their weak side pins too. Rick being a lefty shooting the 7-pin.
I agree.
And
Yep.
Kyle coming from the right-hand corner and being a righty shooting the 10-pin.
Correct. It was interesting. Kyle talked about the first the 10-pin he missed in the semifinal match, and he said he thought he made it. He threw it right where it was supposed to go, and I don't know how it didn't hit it. Similar to what we just witnessed there, the ball pretty much stayed on the lane and didn't hit the pin.
Right. Well,
Paid the penalty. We'll see if Rick does.
right.
Do you believe that happens frequently, Eric? You miss a one-pinner and you just get refocused, and is that really why the strike comes next, or is it really that much of a?
There's something to the rule of thumb there. At least it feels that way for me. And then you observe it a lot too. I mean, you're probably exactly right, Pat. Is what happens is somebody focuses, relaxes, resets, and then throws a really good ball on a regular basis, following up a miss.
Well, there's two ways to react to a missed single. You can get down, or you can come back with a better ball, and hopefully, not get another single to keep your mind focused on it, but just knock it all down and then move on and load that one.
That's what the best bowlers do, right?
That's the only. I think all athletes face. I don't know if you want to call it failure, but when they face adversity, I think the good athletes actually focus more and come out of it stronger. Whereas I don't want to say weaker athlete, but the less mentally strong athlete might focus a little bit more on the negative, and it leads to more negative.
Taking a quick break here while Rick waits for a ball.
Wonder if this has any impact on either of the bowlers. And I was also thinking about that with just the breaks in between the matches as we're resetting cameras and things like that. I wonder if that has any impact on.
Well, I got to tell you that just from what I observed, Kyle and Rick handled it very well. I mean, they were very cordial and very patient. Everyone here has been pretty patient about that today. I think they understand. I mean, they're going to be on TV in front of millions of viewers.
Tens and tens of viewers.
Rick, a little heavy on the head pin there.
Well, fortunate to have a spare leave though, or something to shoot at least. The 2479.
Rick was mentioning before this match that he's. I said, "Wow, you've been bowling really, really well lately. You had that great run in Cheshire and having a good run today." I said, anything particular?" He goes, "I changed balls. I went to a heavier, larger ball." That was, and so he said since he did that, he's been bowling 10 to 15 pins higher, average-wise.
Yeah, we should add in that the first Pro Tour event of the season where Kyle and Rick matched up once already. Rick went 825,
823,
823
5 games.
for 5 games.
Didn't win his block,
and really, unfortunately, ended up 2.5 and 2.5 win-loss record, and didn't.
Not only did he not win he didn't even come in second in his.
Right. He tied when he had a 189 game, so that's just unlucky.
Wow.
Hitting the wrong bowler at the wrong time. And I believe the person he tied was the eventual champion, Phil Dix.
Really? There was a tie between Phil of 189. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, Rick.
So right now,
back-to-back balls off the head pin.
Yeah.
There. You saw him swing his arm in a little bit of frustration. Again, these matches, they go by very quickly. You want to establish some momentum as early as possible.
Well, we'll see. The theme of the day thus far has been for someone to come out and really, the champions, if you will, have been throwing strikes back to back, doubles, triples, four baggers. Fortunate break there. Very, very heavy on the head pin, but again, a 9 drop. Leaves a 2 pin. As we've talked about all day, Kyle is mechanical in his form. Very fluid, not much wasted.
One of the things I notice about Kyle is his steps. I think if you notice them, he's got this. If you pay attention to it, you realize he does this very deliberate heel toe thing in his walk. I really think it helps his balance throughout his entire approach.
Well, he bowls.
It's a very athletic
he
way
bowls
of
a lot of games.
approaching the line.
Bowls a lot of games, both in leagues and in tournaments. But more importantly, he does something that many of us really probably should do more, but either for lack of time or whatnot, we don't practice enough. He does nothing but practice if he has a chance. I mean, he's here quite often, sometimes working, but that's an opportunity that a lot of us don't have. So it means a lot when you throw even without pins on the deck. Just as, like Eric was just saying, the rhythm, maintaining that rhythm is so important to his throw.
Kyle just hit heavy on his spare
Again,
fill there
again.
and broke up the wood, broke up the standing pins to only leave the 7.
He's getting the certainly getting some house rolls and house bounces, but I
I think
mean,
a lot of it also has to do with just, again, the way he throws the ball.
he does keep pins
He
on
throws
the
a
deck.
lighter ball, keeps a lot of the pins on the deck to work, most cases, to his benefit.
Was it you that said he throws a 3 pound 6 ounce?
It's 3.7 actually. I
Okay.
went back and checked my notes. That's still on the lighter side.
It certainly is. And he covers the single.
He had just received those balls. I think he had said it was Joe or Jeremy Ruthven. And prior to that, he was throwing 3 5.5s, which I didn't even know
It's
they
like a
made.
candlepin ball.
Right. And he covered the spare. So Rick is looking up at Kyle Shaw here through 3 frames. Rick will need to get started immediately.
There it is. There it is.
And
I think he was listening, Jim.
I think
Yeah.
you must have. Do you have a camera or do you have a earbud directly into Rick or?
let's use a little ESPN on him.
Yeah. You think you can talk him into a double?
Well, in all likelihood, he is very aware of the fact that he's got some ground to make up, and he did what good bowlers do: stepped up and threw a good ball when he needed to. And he'll have to do that again here.
As you can see, and through 3 frames, he's already found himself down 12 pins, which it's certainly not an insurmountable lead. But you don't, he talked about getting out early.
And there it is. There.
Yeah, you did it,
is.
Jim. You did it.
We got a ball game.
Yes, sir. And he flexes for the camera. Let's see if Kyle can answer.
You notice nothing about Kyle's pace changes here the moment that a little bit of pressure gets put on him. He still has this metronomic and a
word.
ritual just before he bowls. It looks identical.
He was the last 2 frames though. He has been heavy on the head pin, and he was able to break him up both times. Spare leave here.
He knew it halfway.
Yeah.
He knew it halfway.
Pushed the 2 pin
Straight
without
back.
taking the 4.
Yep. And if you notice, that's about as much emotion as you're going to see.
Right. No, I'm surprised.
Not either way, whether he throws a triple or misses a single, he doesn't. His affect is not really changed at all.
There's something about when there's only 10 frames in your head-to-head that every single thing is magnified. So something doesn't
Absolutely.
go your way, it feels much less likely that you're going to be able to make up for it than it would if you had 2 or 3 or 4 games
He was
string
heavy.
together.
He was heavy again, but on the 1-2 this time, and broke up the 9-10 to just leave the 10.
All right. Whew, man,
And
this time it's no
There's
doubt about
no
it.
doubt covering the 10 pin there. And big ball from Rick coming up here on the double.
Chance to take the lead back with a big fill here. One thing we've seen throughout this tournament, is when somebody throws a double, they tendency to throw another one.
Off the side, but fortunate to leave.
So he did get the load, but probably would have been happy to see that head pin drop.
I think more importantly, he had 7 on his first ball instead of 2 before,
Exactly.
which you always cringe when you miss the head pin on
So
working on 2 strikes or more. You really want to take advantage of those doubles and triples and fill them as much as possible.
absolutely. Well, when we finish this frame and update our score without even making this mark, Rick will at least have, through 5, have a lead. Which essentially does what he was talking about in his interview, is closing the gap and getting ahead. That's a big shot right
Gets
there.
that one maybe the tricky way.
Right.
Big shot right there.
Not plan A, more of a plan B there, but he'll take it.
So you see the scoreboard update with Dancero now having an 8-pin advantage, both on a mark in the 6th.
our roving cameraman,
Couple of good
Jack Dancero,
great
being very
shot there.
aggressive
Great
with the,
shot there.
with the roving camera here, but giving us some good details from the bowlers.
These two bowlers are probably thinking of this, look at each other and think about this as a scratch match, which, by the way, they're tied.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Kyle, he's got to give a few pins because he's carried a higher average than
Well, yeah, like he's carrying a 150, I believe. At first, he thought he had really flagged it. Then he looked like his body language was saying, "Come on, pick up a strike, pick up a strike."
So that's two balls in a row. He misses the head pin, but he's inside the 2 pin, then inside the 3 pin. So he's close, but he's flirting with the 2 fill on these marks, and he's working pretty hard to get them.
Absolutely. That he's covering.
Taking advantage of the breaks.
Really
afforded
big
him.
cover there. So now we'll see if Kyle can answer. At this point, it's a mark-for-mark game.
And we finally have some drama today.
Well, this is what these both guys have been doing this to their opponents throughout the morning. So, and there's what we just talked about with Rick happened to Kyle.
Yeah, uncharacteristic there. Very used to seeing Kyle on the head pin, on a fill or not on a fill. Unfortunate that the first time we've seen him miss at this game, he's filling a mark and he only gets 2 on it, but that'll give him a 97
So he's
scratch through 7 frames.
So Kyle down 14 right now, with Dancero still yet to load his spare in the 7th. We are starting to look at Kyle needing marks. Ball was almost again. That almost went through the 2-8 consecutively, but that just barely hung on. But still didn't get a good spare break.
Whereas Rick had left 2 spare breaks, Kyle.
Unfortunately,
lives for
Rick missed
2
by
and-
more.
Right. Well, we've definitely seen the momentum shift just in the last couple of minutes here towards Rick Dancero.
Yeah, at this point, Rick has a chance really to put Kyle in a position where he has to strike.
And I'm sure Rick's thinking about getting back on the head pin. He's been flirting with disaster by missing the head pin the last few frames, and now he's on a spare.
Well, this is
Unlike frames before, he's probably been able to breathe a sigh of relief after a couple of tough frames for Kyle.
Ooh, wow.
And that ball's coming in
Very
from an
unusual.
angle, which
That
is
is
a
a
little bit different for Rick.
completely-
The rotation didn't make up for it.
2-8-10. Wow. But the 7 load does put him 21 up, which is big.
And this wood's going to be important here because to have a lead of more than 20 really forces Kyle to strike, whereas if it's less than 20, he can get 2 marks, whether they be strikes or spares.
Oof. So both bowlers have an 8 in the 8th. I don't know if that's a sign, but hopefully we can do better than that. We got a 21 pin differential with 2 boxes to go.
Meaning Kyle needs strikes.
Rick here maybe with a fortunate moment, I suppose, for him to be taking the frame and then taking the lane and bowling his 9th frame first with a 21 pin advantage. He can really put some pressure on Kyle with this frame.
Ooh, that would do it.
Does just that.
Yeah. Absolutely forces Kyle to strike now. No doubt about it.
Kyle needs to answer here. Kyle can strike out for 166.
175 with handicap.
75, I'm sorry. 166 would be scratch 175 with his 9 pins handicap. Got a little confused there. Sorry about that.
Well, either way, he's that's out of reach.
Right.
No strike, no
And
spare.
no spare.
I think
That might
it's not.
put this one out of reach.
55 as high as Kyle can get right now, and if he clears the deck by only making 2 more, he can only go 53. Rick's at a point where 3 load closes it out.
Right. And that's before Kyle strikes out first.
Oh yeah,
So it's
I'm
almost-
sorry. I'm assuming that
Right.
yeah, the best Kyle can do is force Rick to throw it 3 or more.
Well, that'll do it.
So that's it. The drama is over as far as the ultimate winner. The only remaining detail now is the final score. So Kyle's going to finish with a 124 scratch for a total of 133. As you can see clearly, Dancero's already at 146 with another ball in hand. This match is over.
2016 Connecticut Bowlers Association of
Series-
Connecticut
yeah,
Bowlers
tournament-
Association of Connecticut
yeah.
Series Stop Finals champion.
There you go.
And that also makes Rick a 2-time winner. He won this in 2008.
And finishing up with a couple of strikes here. At this point, a formality, but he's
So-
gonna finish with another nice game here.
Yeah. At this point, Kyle's probably, thinking if I bowl in any more head-to-head matches, I hope not to see Rick Dancero on the other side.
It really came down to that 2 fill there in this spare on the 6th frame.
Yeah, looking up at the score sheet, that's really where the game stopped for Kyle, unfortunately.
Rick was lucky on his headpin misses to leave spare breaks and then convert them, taking advantage of the luck and converting them, whereas Kyle wasn't as lucky and never really recovered from it. He left a split after that.
Maybe the moment of the match is frame 4 for Rick after 3.
So it's back-to-back 165 for Dancero scratch. Did it on 1 and 2, and then came over on 3 and 4 and did the same thing.
Impressive performance.
Very nice bowling by Rick Dancero.
We're going to take a step away, and we'll be back with a word from our winner right after this.
Must be a strike.
John Gorman, do or die here.
It's not. Hold all tickets, folks.
Well, you won't see a stranger one than that. And let's take a look.
Anybody going down the ramps will turn around and come back now, won't they, Mike? That's a live ball.
Each day, Duckpin TV reaches back into its archives to bring to you a piece of Duckpin bowling memorabilia. Visit facebook.com/DuckpinTV to check these out. If you have anything to share with us, email us at duckpintv@gmail.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Connecticut Bowlers Association Tournament Series Finals. We have finished the tournament. We have our winner, and we're going to give you a recap right after this interview with Jim Kaufman interviewing our winner, Mr. Rick Dancero.
All right, back here with our champion and now 2-time series final champion, Rick Dancero. Congratulations. It was a fun match to watch. You and Kyle were basically ball for ball there until, well, you actually dug yourself a little bit of a hole early through the double.
Start and then through the double to come back. It's nice to be able to put yourself back up and really, Kyle's a really good bowler, so be able to come back is a pretty big good thing.
I agreed. And I didn't want to tell you this before, but I was talking to your daughter, Alexis, earlier today. I said, oh, your dad's bowling pretty good. And she goes, yeah, he's bowling good. I go, do you think he's going to win? She goes, no, he's not going to win. But I told her, he still has a lot of bowling left to do, and you did have a lot of bowling left to do.
Yeah, I had a lot. I think I had like 470, 480 on the ladder today. So really good morning. I was joking with Jack during the week when I didn't think I was bowling until 8:15 this morning. That I felt like I had a good chance to win, and here we are. I'll take it. So big thank you to him and everyone else on the BAC for a great event. Most importantly too.
Congratulations to you, and again, take care of your wife on Mother's Day here with the winnings, and we'll see you again on a future broadcast.
Yep, thank you.
All
Happy
right.
Mother's Day, everybody. Enjoy your day tomorrow, all your moms.
Thank you, Jim. We're going to recap now the semifinals. You saw Kyle and Rick basically cruise through. And then, coming into the final match, you had two hot bowlers. And it started off, it was a relatively close. I mean, it was a 9-pin differential, I think, in terms of handicap.
Yep.
So in terms of the finals match itself, where do you see the moment? Where did you see where things were, the momentum shifted?
I think you got to go back to the fourth frame where Rick at that point had already fallen behind a little bit. Kyle throws a couple of marks, and Rick, probably knowing that he's in danger of letting the game get away from him, steps up and throws a strike, which is the first of a double, and then follows that up with a couple more marks. And the momentum just totally turns at that point. And then Rick just continued out and nearly marked out and got himself to a 165. It started back in the fourth frame. That's the moment of the match for me.
Yeah, and Jim, you noted during the match, I wouldn't call it lucky breaks, but the same ball, different results for each bowler. I'm going to review that a little bit, talk about that.
Right, just fractions of an inch difference between their head pin misses. Rick was fortunate to not hit the 2-pin flush, leave spare breaks and convert them, whereas Kyle on his spare leave in the sixth, or his spare in the sixth, clocked the 2-pin for just 2, and that was the difference.
Yeah, and it looked like from that point Kyle was trying to adjust a little bit here, a little bit there, and just couldn't get back to that smooth pocket hit.
And one other tidbit of information, right after I finished my interview with Rick, he'd mentioned he didn't know he was going to be here until 8:15. His daughter was supposed to have soccer practice this morning. He wasn't planning on even bowling this today. He didn't think he was going to be able to. And he got the call that they were canceling because of the weather, and got in the car, came up here to Lucky Strike, and won the tournament.
There's a reason for everything, right? Well, we'd like to thank all of you that are out there and watching this, and hope you enjoyed the broadcast. We had a good time doing it. It was a little hectic at first, but I think it smoothed its way out towards the end there. We had a nice finals match.
Yeah,
Eric?
new format for us, Duckpin TV. We haven't done this before. A little bit experimental. We of course thank everybody for their patience, the bowlers, the center, and I think another great tournament, another great show, another great result.
And don't forget to like us on Facebook and share this video and share it some more.
Yeah, and I guess we'll take a moment while we've got some airtime and people's attention to plug the Duckpin TV Championships, which will be taking place in July, the weekend. Jim, do you recall the weekend?
July 8th, 9th, and 10th, and we will be in Rhode Island for this first annual event. A bit of spin on the alumni challenge match format. We're going with 4 bowler teams as opposed to 5, and another wrinkle, we're also adding a singles division, a singles championship along with the team championship. So really looking forward to covering that this summer, and we've already collected entries, hoping to have a nice big turnout. You can go onto our Facebook page, Duckpin TV, and get the information on the format and how to register your team.
Thank you, Jim, for that wonderful synopsis of that. And we're going to wrap it up here. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Once again, signing off from Lucky Strike Lanes in Mansfield Center, Connecticut, we are Duckpin TV. Thank you very much.